Meeting to order. I was going to ask.
No.
What?
Nothing. I see yours is still broken too, your microphone.
It was just recently broken.
Oh, what?
I broke it on accident.
You broke it.
Again?
Mhm. All right, can I ask Miss Audrey Frank to lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure. Please stand for the pledge. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. So we roll call. All members are present. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Doug. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Joan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Agenda is approved. On to public comments. We have 3 for public session comments, open comments. So I'm going to start with Dr. Joe Muga. Please come up to the podium. And we have only 3, so everyone can have 3 minutes. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Doesn't start till I start, right? Okay. Good morning, board members. Can you hear me? Yeah. Good morning. Good evening. I know all of you, but I will introduce myself for the record. My name is Dr. Joe Muga. I live in EUSD trustee area number 3. I have lived at the same address for 27 years. My daughter, who graduated last month from UC Davis, attended EUSD and EUHSD from kindergarten through high school. My wife is a retired EUSD teacher. As you recall, I sat up there on the dais with all of you as a fellow school board member. I last gave public comment here a year ago and expressed my extreme dissatisfaction with all of you for deliberately circumventing community input for the appointment of a new superintendent. Here I am again, expressing my extreme dissatisfaction with all of you. You betrayed the community's trust a year ago, and now you have betrayed the community's trust once more. Absolutely nobody in the community believes the time frame surrounding Mark Olson's resignation as reported by the district. It appears Mr. Olson ceased to be a resident of his trustee area as early as May 2026 or even before. Government code specifies that the board member ceases to be eligible to be a board member when they no longer are a resident in their trustee area. It could be that Mr. Olson violated government code by continuing to attend board meetings online, remotely, or in person as a board member. Mr. Olson proved himself to be a liar when he initially ran for school board, identifying his occupation on the voter ballot as an educator. Now, once again, Mr. Olson appears to have proven himself as a non-truther. Additionally, the district may be in legal jeopardy if district officials knew Mr. Olson continued as a board member even though he no longer resided in his trustee area for possibly months before he turned in his resignation. The community is demanding the trustee area 3 board seat be placed on the November 2nd general election. The board has lost the trust of the community by possibly conspiring to be able to appoint for the vacant seat rather than allowing the voters of trustee area 3 to choose their own board member. In the near future, there may be an investigation into whether the district officials conspired to circumvent the voters' will, thus enabling the board to appoint for this vacancy. During that investigation, when you raise your right hand to give sworn testimony in front of an adjudicator, just remember to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Our community deserves transparency and the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Muga. Mrs. Seema?
I'm just going to hold it because I hate having something pointed at my face. Good evening, President Harper, members of the board, Superintendent McGuire, and Cabinet. Tonight, I want to address something far more important than any single individual or political disagreement. I want to address the foundation upon which public service is built: integrity, transparency, accountability, and ethics. Integrity is not simply doing what is convenient when it benefits you. Integrity is doing what is right when the public is watching and when they are not. It means honoring the responsibilities entrusted to you and ensuring that personal interests never outweigh the responsibility you have to the students, families, and taxpayers you serve. Transparency is not something that elected officials provide only when questions are easy to answer. Transparency means being forthcoming, honest, and accountable, especially when circumstances raise legitimate concerns. The public should never have to uncover information that directly impacts their confidence in their elected representatives. This board has been entrusted with taxpayer dollars, huge amount of taxpayer dollars. Those funds do not belong to the elected officials. They belong to the community. Every decision involving resources, appointments, and governance must be made with the highest level of responsibility and with the understanding that taxpayers expect ethical stewardship, not actions that create the appearance of personal benefit or political advantage. When you took your oath of office, you made a commitment to uphold the laws of California, serve with fairness, and put the interests of the community above all else. That oath is not symbolic. It's a promise to act with professionalism, honesty, and accountability. The residents of this district deserve a board that follows the rules, answers difficult questions, and protects the public trust. When concerns are raised regarding eligibility, decision-making, or the integrity of the process, those concerns deserve a thorough and transparent response, not silence or avoidance, and definitely not appointment. Trust in public institutions is fragile. Once lost, it is not restored through words alone. It is restored through action, accountability, and a commitment doing what is right. Right is right. The community is watching, the taxpayers are watching, and the students we serve, which is why we are here, the students we serve deserve nothing less than leaders who demonstrate the highest standards of ethical conduct. What I want to say next might be too political, but this stinks of Kentucky turtleism. Thank you.
Gwen Smith?
Hi, I'm back again. I'm Gwen Smith. I'm a teacher at Del Dios Middle School. We're here again, and we're not focused on the work to support the goals for our district. We are here again to support the concerns about our cabinet and actions and behavior that impact our district. And I'm going to be frank, it's exhausting and it's time wasting. And this is a special meeting on our vacation time to ask for actual accountability. Number two, it feels very deliberate, as you can hand select again a person in an impactful position without voice and choice. And perception is reality. And we won't be quiet about what appears to be very deliberate and strategic to avoid a special election, avoiding getting actual qualified people running for what should be a very important role for Escondido. Someone that represents our community. We want to pick the best person for this job with our stakeholders and being respectful. We want to show value to our community, and so handpicking them does not do that. The board and cabinet and AAA should be a team working together, and I want to say I'm so proud to be on AAA and the union, and I was so excited to work because I think of us as being checks and balances. And when I go to the meetings and what we're focused on, we're constantly wanting to make our district better. And instead, I feel like we're constantly trying to check to see what decisions are being made. And it's taking away from our job. And it's really getting tired. And we're here being the voice for parents in our community that don't feel comfortable speaking. And please don't take advantage of that. This board is not representative of the people in our community. And I really want you to think about that for a minute. Where are the people here and the families? They can't speak. And they're counting on us to make decisions for them. Stop picking people for them. Gosh, oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I'm so frustrated. We're here to talk about stipends for work that's not rendered. And then I made a speech last time in which they said, oh, never mind, it's off the table. I want to know why it was off the table and why I spent my time speaking about it. To say, never mind, he's not asking for the money. Gosh, sorry, I'm so frustrated. We had to be here for that too on our vacation. We are demanding a special election because our students and our families deserve it. And we have to ask you again to do the right thing. Do the right thing. We want a special election. Let's care about public opinion, perception, and our actions, and let's get on track. Board, cabinet, and AAA working together as an actual team. You guys have heard synergy. It's so awesome. I've seen it before. Let's do tough work together, and let's work as a team. We are not your enemy. We are the voice of teachers and students. Why are you thinking that we are the problem when we are working with you, and we're here to say, be accountable. Let's hold each other accountable. Ask us to do something. We want to be accountable for you all. We want the best people in an open vacancy. We want a democracy, and it starts locally.
Gwen.
And let's do the right thing and vote.
Thank you, Gwen.
Thank you.
Maggie, I don't know. I don't want to mispronounce your last name. I apologize.
It's Casio, easier than it looks.
Thank you.
Hello. Okay, so yeah, I'm, good evening, everybody. Maggie Casio. I want to thank you. Was it Gwen? Where'd you go? What's your last name? I appreciate you very much speaking up for the families and the students who can't be here tonight, so I appreciate you. So again, my name is Maggie Casio. I am a Escondido resident. I'm a registered voter. I'm a homeowner. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a parent of a student in Escondido High School District. I'm also a longtime school volunteer advocate for students, parents, and teachers. And I'm also a passionate voting rights activist, advocate, I'll say. So there are a lot of questions. It's kind of hard to have comment before we've actually heard what's going to happen tonight. But there are so many questions that we need to have answered regarding Mr. Olson's resignation, too many for my limited time. So I will just ask that the board, I'll just ask generally, that the board will answer, take the time to answer very specifically and with detail what actually happened, how this was, that a trustee was able to continue to serve on a board when it should have been obvious that he was leaving Escondido. He was literally selling his house, attending meetings from, and taking a job in another state. So look, the parents and teachers, we just want to be able to trust you. You are our elected trustees and the board. Our students are watching you. And but allowing Mr. Olson's resignation to come after the deadline that would have allowed a special election to be conducted with the gubernatorial general election at not a lot of cost to the city, it's honestly just disgraceful that you allowed that to happen. So now rather than for our Area 3 folks to be able to elect their person, they now just have to cross their fingers and hope that you actually do put a committee together that's useful and that's fair. So we will see. I'm looking forward to hearing about how that's going to happen. And then the rest of you, many of whom are up for re-election, you have lost the trust of a lot of your residents and your voters and your students and your parents. Finally, every day counts in EUSD, right? So those include the days that Mark Olson was not eligible to serve on the board. So I do hope that the district will look into any salary, any benefits, anything else that he received during that time that he really should not have been a board member, a trustee, and ensure that that's returned to us. Thank you.
And Maggie, thank you for bringing that up. I was going to mention before that we can't respond during open session, but we were taking notes of the questions you have. So then when we have our discussion, we will try to provide those answers the answers you are looking for. But I forgot to mention that at the beginning. Now we're moving on to the discussion and action item that we're here for. I have a little script. Oh no, actually we're gonna do we have 3 comments on this actual item. We'll do that first and then we'll get into the discussion. So first one is Ms. Krebs.
Thank you guys so much. Looks like I'll run out in 3 minutes, but let's see what I can do. Good evening, Board President Harper, members of the board, Mr. McGuire, and Cabinet. I'm speaking to you this evening as the association president of the Escondido Elementary Educators Association. I need to address a serious issue that has come to light, and I believe the public deserves transparency, accountability, and confidence in those elected to represent them. According to publicly available property records, Board Trustee Mark Olson sold his California residence on June 1st, 2026. However, it was recorded on June 25th. Additionally, publicly available information indicates that he was working in Ogden, Utah in his new job as the Recreations Director back in March of 2026. Minutes from the City Council meeting on May 19th have him noted as being present, and he is visible in the City Council meeting video on that same date being introduced. It was stated by a City Council member that he had been employed since March. On May 21st, 2026, Mr. Olson attended our school board meeting without any public announcement that he had relocated to Utah. Mr. Olson did not attend the June 18th meeting, but was present for the June 25th and July 16th meetings, both of which were after his relocation and job establishment in Utah. On July 23rd, Mr. Olson attended remotely from Ogden, Utah. So why was he allowed to attend virtually on July 23rd when his statement indicates he informed you all of his circumstances? His resignation should have been back on June 25th. This board has previously recognized that financial barriers can discourage community members from serving in this important role as a school board member. In approving stipends for board members, the stated purpose was to make service more accessible to individuals who might otherwise be unable to afford the time and commitment required. That goal is an important one. However, those same principles require that every board member continue to meet the legal qualifications for holding office so that the public can have confidence in the integrity of the board. This appears to be a board seat grab that will result in a stacked board that is like-minded politically and not a board that is focused on the Escondido community. This board already does not represent the demographics of this community. It appears that the raising of stipends was clearly for self-interest. This should not be about politics. It should be about preserving public trust and ensuring that the laws governing the elected office are followed consistently. I respectfully ask the board to publicly address the following. When did Mr. Olson establish residency in Utah? When was the board informed that he accepted employment in Utah and was working there in March? When did the board become aware of his California home and that it had been sold? Who is responsible for approving Mr. Olson to zoom into a meeting from Utah on 3 occasions when it was common knowledge that he was actively pursuing job opportunities out of the state? Why hasn't the school board simply incurred the cost of adding the trustee 3 seat to an already existing ballot for the school board seats 2, 4, and 5? Obviously, I'm going to run out of time. But we predict that you're going to appoint someone of your choosing that's going to follow your political views. That would not be the right thing to do. For once, listen to the public and listen to the people that are absolutely invested into this community. You've lost our trust. And since the 5 of you have been up there, this district has tanked. You comment about financial crisis. Oh, we're so poor. That's you guys. You guys pay for this stuff. You approve it. We've taken 5.22% less than COLA in the last 3 years. We're not to blame, and we're not your problem. You are your problem. So fix it and do the right thing for once in the time that you sit up here. Thank you.
Jason Coronas. I said that right? I know. Names are not my gift.
Thank you. Good evening, board members and everyone in attendance on short notice. My name is Jason Crones. I am a parent of 2 kids in this district. After learning of this meeting yesterday, I found the circumstances around Mr. Olson's resignation and timing concerning. I'm not here to debate whether Mr. Olson was either a highly secretive and unethical in his failure to provide earlier notice, or the board isn't forthcoming on what was actually known when. I understand the unfortunate costs needed now for a possible special election, but in our current political climate, giving citizens and parents of Escondido an opportunity to voice who they want on the school board is vitally important, in my opinion, and other parents that I've spoken with. I encourage you to do the right thing for parents, to keep trust in this board, and do not just appoint a replacement. Additionally, this is a great opportunity to show our children of Escondido how responsible and transparent civic governance works. Thank you.
Noemi.
Hi, everyone. As you all know, my name is Noemi. I am the president of CSCA, so I represent classified staff. So I've had the privilege of filling this role for 3 years now, and tonight I once again am here to speak on behalf of classified staff who serve this district every day on behalf of the community that deserves transparency and accountability from its elected leaders. The Escondido Union School District Governance Handbook begins by reminding us that this board is entrusted by the community to protect the public's interest and ensure a high-quality education for every student. It also establishes expectations for how this board should govern, to have and show respect for others, maintain open and honest communication, provide the opportunity for the public to speak, have an expectation of full transparency, honestly assess all data, and always bring every conversation back to what is best for students. Those aren't suggestions. They are the standards the school board has set for itself. Tonight, the public is being asked to accept that the vacancy in Trustee Area 3 was created on July 24th when Trustee Olson submitted his resignation. But publicly available information raises legitimate questions about whether the legal vacancy may have occurred earlier if residency requirements changed before that date. Those questions matter because the answer could determine whether this seat should be filled by appointment or by the voters of Area 3. As the president of the Classified Employees Union, I'm not asking this board to make a political decision. I'm asking you to make a transparent one. The district's own public agenda identifies Trustee Olson participating remotely from Utah months before his resignation. Those agendas were prepared by the district and publicly posted. If those facts have no legal significance, explain why. If they do, explain how they are considered. Before any vote is taken tonight, the public deserves clear answers. When did the district determine Trustee Olson no longer met the residency requirements for this seat? What legal analysis supports using July 24th as the date the vacancy was created? Has legal counsel fully reviewed the applicable provisions of the Education Code and Government Code regarding residency-based vacancies and the timing of elections? Has the district confirmed with the Registrar of Voters what options remain for allowing the voters of Area 3 to choose their own representative? These are not unreasonable questions. They are questions any member of public should expect to have answered before decisions of this magnitude is made. As classified employees, we are expected to follow policies, procedures, and the law every single day. We are held accountable for our actions, and we accept the responsibility because public service demands it. We expect no less from the elected officials entrusted with governing the district. This is bigger than one board seat. It is about public confidence in this board's commitment to its own governance principles. Trust is built through transparency, not assumptions. It is built by answering difficult questions, not avoiding them. Your own governance handbook calls on you to maintain open, honest communication, to have an expectation of full transparency, and to honestly assess all the available information. Tonight is your opportunity to demonstrate those values in action. If the law supports your decision, explain it fully. If there are unanswered legal questions, take the time to answer them before acting. If the people of Area 3 have legal rights to elect their representative this November, then they should be given that opportunity. Our employees, our families, and our community are watching. We ask only that this board govern in the same manner it has promised the public it would, with integrity, transparency, and accountability. I know I'm over, so
No,
I'm just going to
I've
give
given
you
extra time.
I'm just going to hand it over to you. These are a
Thank
set of
you.
questions that we have,
That's fine.
and
Thank
I would
you.
like for you to address.
Thank you. Thank you. I do appreciate that because I couldn't write them down as fast as Brandy said them, so I'm sure they're the same. All right, so on to the discussion. This particular open session item addresses our legal obligations and respective timelines in light of the resignation of Mark Olson, board member for Trustee Area 3. Mr. Olson's resignation occurred and took effect on Friday, July 24th, 2026. Council for the district will provide an overview of the procedures for filling the vacancy. The goal after that presentation that this board will discuss the options and decide on an option to fill that vacancy. As I understand it, we have two options. One involves a special election and the other is a provisional appointment. So I'm going to turn it over to our general counsel, Mr. Dan Shinoff.
Thank you very much, President Harper. My name is Daniel Shinoff, and I have the privilege of being a grandparent of 3 students in the Escondido Union School District, and my grandchildren couldn't be happier than to be students in this district, and I share that with the board whenever I see them, because that's, on a personal level, that's very important to me, and what that really means to me is what a wonderful job all of you are doing on behalf of the students of the Escondido School District. So let me try to take you through the process. I think it's very important that everybody understands on the board, and then that the public understands. So we conduct the board's business before the public, and I just want to make sure that we don't get lost in some of the minutia, because this is a very complicated body of law. And so, and I say that seriously because it is. And just to give you an idea of how complex it is, there was a great justice within the 4th District Court of Appeal, and his name was Howard Weiner. And he was on the Court of Appeal for probably 25 years at least. And he wrote a very important decision involving a school district in the county of San Diego. And he referred to the California Education Code as Hobbit law. And so in the state of California, just so that all of you know it, there are over 100,000 sections in the California Education Code, and that's just the beginning for educational institutions. And so all of those laws require compliance and adherence and fidelity. And in addition, this evening we're going to be talking about the education code, we're going to be talking about the election code, and we're going to be talking about the government code. But I think I would do a disservice to you if I was citing verse and line each and every statute that applies. So let me just generally provide the board with an overview of the applicable areas of law, so that they may be of interest to you, and I could certainly speak to them if you wish. So we begin with the intention to resign, which is codified in the Education Code, that's 5090, and Government Code Section 1770, subparagraph C. And then what happens is, once a vacancy is created as a result of a resignation, then we are on what I would refer to as a very short fuse, and that's codified in the Education Code, and specifically Education Code 5093, and then we have deadlines. So big picture is from the date of resignation, of the individual board member, we have to go forward 60 days. Now, a board member, if they resign, they can also resign on a particular date, but with an effective date at some later point. So that's also provided for in the law. I'm going to assume that the legislature is wise. As lawyers, we have to take that position because the legislature does a lot of complicated work, and these statutes all intermesh, and they have to all be read together. But the most important takeaway on this entire issue is that once the clock begins to run, so from the 24th of July, you have 60 days within to take action. And by that might be a special election, that may be a provisional appointment, and that is obviously within your discretion and within your judgment. So we're really talking about a relatively short period of time. I was very impressed by the passion that was expressed by every speaker. I mean, it was very clear to me that it's from the heart. It was stated with integrity and fidelity to the work that is done. So I want to express my personal appreciation as to how people spoke. The one thing that this board is not here to do this evening, and it may be disappointing to all, but I want to be candid. This is not a board that is currently sitting as an adjudicatory body. That is not, and I apologize for that, but I think I owe you that level of transparency. And quite frankly, it's not even within the jurisdiction of this body to sit as an adjudicatory body in terms of making a decision. Where does the trail of evidence take us? When was the actual resignation date? When was a potential date of vacancy from the trustee area? Those are very, very complex issues, but unfortunately, folks, that's not before the board this evening. So this evening, what I really want to address is process, and the process is very important, and I'm glad that it's the board that has to make that decision as opposed to someone like me, because the public has spoken, and I understand the concern. So let's begin with the special election process, because I think that's sort of the bedrock of our society as a democracy. So I think that we all respect and recognize that elected officials are elected by the people to serve the people and to fulfill their obligations to those that give them their trust for the vote. So I think we have that basic principle that is part of the bedrock of American society, and it obviously distinguishes us from many societies and countries around the world. So I'm sure all of you and the board is very proud about the election process. So if you were to elect to choose to go down the special election route, so the first question I would ask is, if I were in your position, why is it that we have to proceed with a special election as opposed to this matter being on the general election? And I think, Doctor, you mentioned it earlier, that was your request that it be on the general election, and that's not within the control of the Escondido Union School District Board. That's actually regulated by the Registrar of Voters, and the Registrar of Voters has very specific timelines in terms of when notification has to be provided to them in order for a matter to be on the ballot for the upcoming election. And I know that there are board members that are up for this upcoming election, and that will be part of the process as well. So the bottom line in all of this is, because of the timing, the option in terms of election would be a special election. So let's talk about when that special election would occur. Once the board elects to proceed down the path of a special election, there is a process in place, and that process involves notification to the county superintendent and to the registrar of voters. So with that notification, then they begin the process of scheduling it. And from my analysis, the earliest that you would see a special election would be approximately March 27th of 2027. So from now until March 27th of 2027, you will have a 4-person board, and that's simply the reality that this board finds themselves in currently. But that's outside the control of the board. of the district, of the registrar of voters. I've litigated that issue in court. I've attempted to see if there can be force imposed upon the registrar of voters, and they have their own specific rules. They have their own election code that they follow. They are very busy people. This is a busy time of year for them, so they have strict and hard timelines. And so from my research, using the date of July 24, we would then provide notice to the county superintendent and notice to the county board of registrars, and then they have at least 123 days from that point to set a election. But that procedure is also controlled in part by the county superintendent, and this board has no ability to control the timeline, because the county superintendent also then has another board to speak to, and so there's a whole authorization process. So despite the fact that the county superintendent is involved at that point, then there becomes the issue of who pays for this. And that is simply one of the realities of the election process. Keep in mind that there is a translation requirement, which is a good thing. And so ballots have to be in a variety of different languages as mandated by the state of California. And it all depends upon whether we have mail-in ballots, whether we have in-person ballots. And we are talking about trustee area 3, and as I understand it, the voting population in that area is somewhere between 19,000 and 20,000 people. So that's my best understanding of what the numbers are. So in preparation to present this evening, I asked that the superintendent and that the assistant superintendent of business services find out exactly what the expense would be. And so that contact was made by the assistant superintendent of business services, and the best that they were able to provide was an estimate, and the estimate was based upon a special election that occurred in 2024, and in light of the size of this particular trustee area, the estimate is somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000. So again, I present that number to you only because it's factual. That seems to be a significant delta in terms of the two numbers, but you'll have to decide the significance of the fiscal impact on all of that. And I would say, in a lot of the work that we do in the practice of law is it's all about a balance. So as I heard the community is talking about integrity, the community is talking about transparency and accountability, all very important concepts, extremely important concepts. One additional obligation that rests with you is what I would refer to as the public fisc, or the hat that you wear as trustees in making sure that money is spent appropriately. So I'm not going to weigh in on that. That's up to you for your consideration, and it's just part of the factors that I would suggest that you take into consideration. Let's assume hypothetically that you don't make a decision. You're deadlocked in terms of your ability to make a decision one way or another. Well, then we follow the clock. So we take that same 60-day period of time, and if the board takes no action, either special election or a provisional appointment, then the county superintendent steps in and he orders a special election with the advice and the consent of his board. And the bad news is that he also sends you the bill. So that's very much part of the process. So the budget that is associated with that, that's addressed under the education code and under the election code. So in terms of the term of the person that is elected is another factor that I think you want to take into consideration. From my research, I understand that former trustee Olson's position runs through 2028. So if there was a special election, the special election would be to seat that particular person who prevails in the election from the time that they are elected into office. And just for purposes of the analysis, I would suggest you use March of 2027. And maybe I'm off 30 days here or there, but I do believe, based on my research, that is a pretty predictable period of time, just based on reading of the election code and the local rules in the county of San Diego. So the election would occur in the month of March of 2027, and then that individual, whomever they may be, would be seated through the balance of that term through 2028, and either that person could choose to run for re-election or not, whatever their particular option may be. So that's the first approach, and I think I've provided you with the factors that I suggest you take into consideration in terms of your analysis, but I don't want to limit your debate, your discussion, your consideration to just what I have raised, because there's a whole array of issues that you may think are of importance, and simply because of the district and the interests of the district and the wishes of the board and the wishes of the community. So it's not an exclusive list of considerations for your analysis. So the next option that you may have is it's referred to as a provisional appointment, and the procedure for the provisional appointment is identified in the education code, and specifically we're talking about education code 35107. So if you were to use that particular process, how do you begin it? So what I've done is I've handed each of you a packet from 2020 where there was a vacancy application for trustee area 5, and there was a deadline for a submission. You'll see that on the first page, and there is an application, and this obviously will be available to the public. Whether this is a procedure that that you select or not, I want to make sure that the members of the community have that, but they should be able to find all of that information in any event during the time of the vacancy for trustee area 5 back in 2020. So there are requirements for candidates, and that's spelled out. The person has to be 18 years or older, be a citizen of the state, be a resident of Escondido, but in this particular instance, they would have to be a resident of trustee area 3. Is there a map that we can display that would help you? So having done this before, I don't know if any of you participated after the census in 2020, or at the time that the board went from an at-large process to a trustee area process. But literally, there is and I'm old, so I apologize, but I think that you are able to use the map and look at a particular address and determine whether it is in the trustee area. And that's a very important fact, because as you can see on what appears to me to be the northern limits. There's a lot of jig and jagging that occurs here that have parts of streets, not the full street. So there is some complexity. So somebody who wished to either go by way of appointment or a special election, they would need to make sure that they were in that particular area. And so I think it's something that can be done pretty easily, and I'm sure that the district superintendent would make sure that that's accessible to anyone that would be interested who had a question as to whether their particular residence was within that trustee area. So the first step in the process is to determine qualifications. So they need to be a citizen, a resident of the area, be a registered voter, and not be disqualified by the Constitution of the state. And part of the packet includes those criteria that could result in what is referred to as disqualifying offenses. That's on page 8, and there's a number of bullet points, and I think they're pretty self-explanatory, but of course, should you have any questions about these particular penal code sections and election code sections, I'm more than happy to address those particular issues. What you do after, so when you do, if you decide to go through a provisional appointment process, you need to provide notification to the public through the local media, through the district website, whatever way you want to make sure that you cast a very broad net so that anybody that is interested either in the election, in a special election, or even being provisionally appointed is aware of it, and they know what the requirements are, and they know timing. So in terms of a provisional appointment, again, if that was your choice, the period of time that a person would have to fill out the questionnaire and return it is within your consideration. The only thing that I ask that you keep in mind is that the clock runs. So that clock is running, the 60-day continues, so whether it be 3 weeks, whatever it may be, whatever you deem to be a reasonable period of time, it is not prescribed by law. So you get to make that kind of decision. Then, despite the fact that the board policy does not make a specific reference to an ad hoc committee, you do have a policy, and I was delighted to see it simply because I'm very accustomed to using ad hoc committees, but there are standing committees and there are ad hoc committees. Standing committees are whatever appointments that are made and people serve on that, and those become meetings that are available to the public. The ad hoc, in this particular instance, is under Board Bylaw 9223, which states that a committee needs to be appointed consisting of less than a quorum of the board to ensure that applicants are eligible for board membership. So the sole and exclusive job of this ad hoc committee for a limited time and a limited purpose would be to take a look at the applications and see if they meet the requirements, the minimum requirements. It would not be the role of the ad hoc committee to say, oh my goodness, we have 350 applications here. How do we accomplish that? I have no idea what the number may be. Maybe that's simply hope springing eternal that there's such great interest in the democratic process. But it's a job. It requires work, because after that qualification process, and an ad hoc committee I think could be put together in very short order. Want to make sure that the people have sufficient amount of time to apply, And once they have met the minimum qualifications, then you would set another meeting. And that next meeting would be to interview the candidates. You would interview the candidates. You would have a series of questions. You would ask each applicant the same question so that there is no disparity in terms of the treatment of each individual. I would suggest to you, if you go down that process, that simply as a courtesy that you ask each person that while they're not being interviewed, before they're interviewed, could you please remain outside the boardroom? Not that they're not a member of the community, but just out of fairness to each and every other applicant, so that they have that experience in real time for themselves and they are interviewed. Because obviously you can learn a lot from what other people say, either good or bad or beneficial. And at that particular time, then you would interview and then you would deliberate. So this is probably the most, having done this for 45 years, having seen the appointment process at work, it's my experience that that is a very uncomfortable experience. And what do I mean by that? These are your friends. These are your neighbors. These are people that have expressed interest in the position, and you are put in the difficult position of having to make a choice. And that's hard. That's a very difficult process, but that's what the law requires. Once you make a choice, if you go down this particular option, if a decision is made, then what you would do is that person is sworn in right away, and then the name has to be submitted to the San Diego County Office of Education. So they're onboarded, and that's all provided for under the California Constitution, exactly how that process works. And part of the packet that I have provided for you includes the educational components. And by that I mean it's important that a elected official understand what their role is. And so you know from experience what the role is, but it's also important that other people understand what the role is in terms of being policymakers, in terms of your involvement in terms of curriculum, in terms of acting in a quasi-legislative capacity because you're making law for the district, and sometimes, unfortunately, you sit in a quasi-judicial capacity, and by that I mean if discipline is imposed upon a student, if discipline involves an employee, then that person would have to understand that that would be part of the responsibilities. So I hope that I have provided you with a very broad overview, and I turn it over to you. And happy to answer any questions if you have.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is I am going to make a motion, and I will be looking for a second, so then we can discuss the items. Making the motion in the second doesn't mean we are agreeing to it. It just means we are going to discuss the options. So I'm going to move that we make a provisional appointment to replace Mark Olson's seat.
I'll second.
Okay, so now we will start discussion of that item. Would you mind if I know I don't normally go first, but I would like to go first, if that's okay? Thank you. So I know there are a lot of questions, and Mr. Olson himself put out a statement today clarifying some of those questions, but just for some of you that are in the audience and didn't see the questions, or his statement, he informed the board on July 16th that he would be moving to Utah, and that he'll be moving and he would be resigning. And then he turned in his resignation on July 24th. He talked to us talked to me after the board meeting on the 16th to say he was moving. He was able to find a job, and as we know, he had family issues and professional issues which ended up making him move. We do not know the date, and that is not our, like Dan has said, of his residency. We're not monitoring each other's place of residency. We only go by what we are told. And our board member told us on July 16th that he was moving and moving with his family and got another job. We were not aware of that before that. So I understand that the house and everything, I don't have an answer for that because that's not our responsibility or our understanding of what happened in the dates. That's not. We were told on the 16th, and he resigned right after. To that point, Mark has been a tremendous board member to this community. He's an upstanding citizen and family and church person. So the accusations on his honor is very offensive.
They're true.
No, please do not shout. They are not true. That is not, we do not, Mark has proudly served this district. He came in at a very tumultuous time, and he has served this district proudly. So I don't appreciate you assassinating his character because he's an upstanding citizen. I do not appreciate that. We serve the students of this community. That is our sole goal. I do want to clarify a couple other things with the details. I know there's questions. I'm trying to make sure we get all the questions answered. The two missed meetings, the two meetings he attended virtually, the first one was because I had called a meeting that we didn't originally have scheduled, and he was on a family trip with his in-laws. The second meeting that he attended virtually was his son graduated from college that day, and that's why he attended virtually, but he was not able to physically be here. And then the 23rd, he was not here. He participated via Zoom. So those first, and he was in person at multiple meetings since then and during that time. So I'm trying to just clarify what the dates were, but again, the board was only made aware on July 16th of his move, or his intending move. He didn't tell us he hadn't moved when he talked to us. So on July 16th, and he was not in Utah. He was here. He had not moved yet. And then he put in his resignation on July 24th. So I just wanted to clarify that. Now, going on to my opinion on a special election versus an appointment. I'm always for a special election. I think the people should vote because that, especially with a district. My problem is the cost and the time it's going to take. That district will be unrepresented for so many months. I think we need a full board majority that that district is represented by. Plus the cost, $250,000 to $400,000. I think that is a huge cost. That's almost 3 teachers. That's very important. Okay, we were polite during your time, and we were silent. I'm trying to communicate. No, Emily. I am trying to communicate. I know. Okay, I'm asking for the audience to remain respectful as we were to you. You would like transparency. As soon as he told me, we called a special meeting so we could have this discussion in public. We don't have these discussions behind closed doors. We have them in public. That's why I called a meeting right away. This was the first Thursday after he let us know he was resigning that we could have had a meeting. Because again, we want to be open and honest that you're asking for. Because we don't have meetings outside of this. We don't have discussions of this outside of this. So if you would like to say we are not transparent, I am trying to be as transparent as possible in a public open meeting scheduled as soon as possible. Anyway, so talking about that. So I have a problem with the cost. I have the problem with how long the board seat would be vacant. And plus, it's been precedent. I think it's funny that Dr. Joe Muga is listed on the last time we had a vacancy. He presided over a vacancy. But that is, precedent. Almost all the districts around us do the same thing, is do the appointment. I want to do this in an open process. I think we will have great candidates apply. I think we'll have a fair and consistent open process where we will be able to talk to all the candidates, that the public will be able to hear from all the candidates. One of my suggestions would be to have that meeting at Bear Valley Middle School within the district to make it even easier for district community members to attend that meeting. I think that's in their multi-purpose room. I think that would be easy enough. But I have more points, but I wanted to start off with that and then have anyone else's comments on the situation.
Are we going this way tonight?
It doesn't matter, whoever wants to talk.
Go ahead, Doug.
So first of all, thank you to everybody for coming out and addressing the board tonight. I want to just make sure people understand, from my perspective, we're very serious about doing what's right in this situation. I do have several thoughts regarding the replacement of Mr. Olson. Having heard the options, I honestly believe that either an election or an appointment would work in providing a high-quality board member. At first glance, we always want to hold a direct election so that the approximately 20,000 voters of Area 3 directly elect their representative. I don't think that any member of our board wishes to usurp this basic democratic principle. In the last election, over 12,000 people voted. It seems to me that the four of us appointing and making the decision for those 20,000 residents and 12,000 voters is not palatable. It was a little different when we appointed Mr. Houston back in February of 2020. There were only a few more months remaining in that term before the next election. The next election was in November of 2020, so that was about an 8-month appointment. This one is different. There's 2.5 years left, and that's a long time. So to me, special election is always going to be preferable. But then you hear the price tag, $250,000 to $400,000, depending on whether we do just mail-in or a hybrid. And that's a lot of money. It's 3 or 4 teachers, and that expense is hard to stomach. Along with that, as has been pointed out, Area 3 would be entirely unrepresented for the 6 to 7 months, whatever that winds up being, until the special election can be held. That means a 4-person board, which limits the viewpoints presented and could cause problems when any controversial decision needed to be made. So a special election has drawbacks also. But I know that this board can function effectively with 4 people for the next several months. 3 to 2 votes are rare. Happens 2 or 3 times a year, and at least 2 of those we know what they're going to be in advance. I know that we would get a wide range of highly qualified Area 3 residents. I know we would, because many of them are in this room. I know the level of interest in public education in that area, as I lived on Anaheim Terrace in Area 3 for about 20 years before moving to my current Area 1 house. So we'd get a quality replacement. But I keep going back to that principle of our democracy, that we have the people who are affected directly elect their representatives. And I ask myself whether I should be making a decision for the area of People 3, and it's tough for me to get past that. So at this point, I'm leaning toward voting for a special election to be held as soon as practicable, and I look forward to hearing the opinions and insights of my colleagues.
Thank you, Doug. Joan?
So I just wanted to say there were some aspersions cast on the makeup of our current board. And I have to say that everyone sitting up here has been elected and often re-elected by the voters. It's not as if any of us are serving an appointed session. And so I think that we have the trust of the people who have voted for us,
and I know we don't live in Area 3. My preference would be to have a district-wide election. I never liked going to areas because then you feel like you're only responsible for your area. I never felt that way, and I think the board members sitting here tonight don't feel that way either. Having said that, yeah, everybody wants a special election. Do we want to be with only 4 board members until March of next year? Is that preferable so that yes, some of you would be happy. Well, I think, again, I trust the voters who have elected us. They trust us. And my point is I would prefer to have an application process, a fair one. You would all be invited to the interview process. You could voice your preferences then, or you could voice your preferences even before. So I think that would be the fairest way to do it, and the shortest time span to be without a 5th board member. And I'm done.
Thank you. Mark, I'm sorry, Mark. Frank.
Thank you. Just wanted to do before I start, a quick correction. Mr. Paulson said that I came in 2020. There was an election in 2022, so I did serve on the board for almost 2 years before my apologies. No worries. So I did serve as a appointee for over 2 years prior to 2022 as the incumbent. So, and in speaking on that, it is really important that, for me, that we have someone that comes in that is part of that area, but is eager to learn and be part of this process. When I came in, having no prior school appointment or anything like that, it was a very difficult adjustment for me because I had to learn a lot of stuff in reference to how the schools run, what our rules are, what we're supposed to do. And it was a very quick learning curve, but this is a really, really important position. And quite honestly, I think we do need 5 board members here to do that, to do the work that the community is expecting us to do. And on top of that, the cost in itself is quite large, and I just have a problem with that. So I'll be asking for the appointment.
Okay,
Thank you.
excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I agree that we need 5 members, we need active members, we need people we have 23 schools, 14,000 kids. We need to be out there, and we need a full team of 5 to be out there, seeing what is going on, making sure things are happening, and that we're upholding the standards that we ran on. I am very proud of my service to this community. I don't appreciate the disparaging remarks. I don't appreciate the disparaging marks against our other board members. Anyway, so does anyone else have any other comments they'd like to make? Otherwise, I will call for a vote. All right. All those in favor of the motion to go down the path of choosing an appointment for trustee area 3, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to move on to the next part of it. So there's more discussion, and so we're going to, before we go on to this next item, can we talk about, Mr. Shinoff, before we go on to this next item, can we still discuss what we want the process to look like, what we want the application to look like, and then finish up with the ad hoc committee? Okay. So what you all have a copy of is what was previously done by the board at the last appointment. There are the basic questions, qualifications. So one of the things I wanted to make sure of, we do have the 60-day clock, but at the same time, I don't want to do this. I don't want to decide on appointment until school is in session and that everyone has been made aware and that everyone has time to apply so their notice can go out. So I would suggest anything we do is farther into school starting, but again, within that 60-day timeline. But again, I want to make sure the community is aware, because people are on vacation, and I understand that. So I would hope the process we could push it so it's during that time, during when everyone's back at work, back in school, everyone's back from vacation, so everyone can be informed and attend that meeting. So my suggestion I was wondering if anyone had any, so the application deadline, does anyone have, I mean, I think we can use this as a template, but does anyone have a date, if we pull up our calendars? Because school starts, I believe, the 13th, 18th? Okay, so the 18th, I'm in July. I would like at least a week overlap from when school starts until the next time. Well, that'd be, well, I guess they could turn it in, yeah. Oh, I guess it doesn't have to be a Thursday. Yeah, what if the 28th, okay. Do we want to do it the 20, well, when's our, because I wanted to have a special meeting if we did the appointment, not on a regular board meeting night. I wanted its own special meeting so we could take the time. Okay. So August, can everyone make August, September 3rd then, if we did it on September 3rd? The meeting on September 3rd and do the 28th as the deadline of August. 28th of August, deadline.
At 5 p.m.?
Sure, yeah, that's fine.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, the 5 p.m. deadline, or 4 p.m., I think they had 4 p.m. 4 p.m. deadline, and then the meeting would be on September 3rd. Would we like to start it at 5, or would we like to start it at 6?
So the interviews will take place on
The 3rd.
September 3rd,
Mhm.
and the applications are due on the 28th.
Mhm.
Does that give us enough time, given if there are a lot of applications
I think
to read
that-
through?
If I may, Madam
Yeah.
President, so the ad hoc, which is part of this item, that would give them an abbreviated period of time.
As well.
But the check box that you're looking for in terms of qualifications shouldn't take a lot of time. With the 350 applications that I'm predicting, I still think that it can be done
Well,
in
we could-
relatively short order.
We could move the deadline up to the 25th, so that would be a week of overlap.
I would think that we would want to give the maximum amount
Sure,
of
okay.
time
I
for
think-
people to apply and
Get the
have,
word out.
and
Yeah.
have the quickest turnaround.
I
Mr.
think-
Shinoff, I just want to clarify that this idea of the ad hoc committee is they are only looking at those 5 qualifying. They are not evaluating the applicants. They are not doing any sort of litmus test. It is, we're all together. It's, is this application qualified?
You are 100% correct.
So that is just a checklist,
Yeah.
and that, if we need to come in over, if
We can.
whoever is on
Yeah.
the ad hoc committee needs to come in over the weekend to do that work,
Yeah, that's fine.
then that's what needs to happen.
Okay, so we'll have the meeting, okay, so we'll keep the 28th deadline at 4 p.m., September 3rd at 6 p.m. Does that work?
So the other issue, Madam President, that I just realized is that we also have to determine what is a committee that is less than a quorum of the board. So
Right.
as you're going through that,
Ooh.
it seems to me as though, my math has never been good, but that seems like 2 people would constitute
A
a
quorum.
majority of the board.
Yes.
So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it would be one
It
person.
would be one, it's not a big job, it's not a big job.
It's not.
I vote Doug.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and with
all you're
the,
gonna be doing
All I'm doing is
Yeah.
checking off the boxes, and if there's a discrepancy, then I would work with legal counsel to determine. I mean, I gotta be honest with you. I'm not hoping for 350. I'm hoping for all of District 3 to apply so that we are sure.
So perhaps I'm at fault, I tried to add a little levity, it wasn't intended, it's not a light issue.
No,
a
it's
light
not.
issue.
It's not,
I
but
like
my
I
point
like
is.
the idea of democracy, so the more the merrier.
okay,
But, and in that same vein, though, I think all of the board members should have access and should have the time to read through all of the
Yes.
applications.
well,
So
I,
mean, we take this that seriously.
yeah, so I would think Doug could do it over the weekend, and by Monday morning, we could have them, have the board.
I don't think so. I think it starts at 4 PM on the 28th, and the applications get out to the board that night so that we have.
Oh, that's fine too. I
we
didn't
have
wanna
the
put that
time.
pressure on you.
As they come in, we
Okay.
can do them,
Yeah.
or we can start the day before. It's not a complicated process.
That's fine.
That would be my strong
That's
recommendation.
fine.
So that we
works.
really have time to read everything.
Mhm,
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving on, is there any, there's about, I think there was 8 questions.
Yes.
Do we want to modify any of those questions or delete any of those questions? I would say, the only one I think it would be 4 is what would you do to become more effective as a board member? Would you be willing to attend educational opportunities for board members? Please explain. I would think that, well, maybe I'll leave it in there, because I would think it would be, yes, you always want to learn more and understand the process. But,
As Frank said, though, it's really
it's a
hard
big
to
learning, you're
understand.
right, there's a lot to
Takes the
get,
first 4 years, I always
Mhm.
say, that just to understand
Right.
what the job entails.
exactly. Okay, does anyone have any other changes or or are we gonna just leave it as is?
If I could just suggest to you, if you take a look at the 8 questions that are posed, they're really very broad questions, and I think it provides a wonderful opportunity for a candidate to provide a lot of information, whatever their pleasure, obviously, but the topics are wide open.
Okay,
And then based on those responses, there'll be an interview process as well, where they'll have the opportunity to speak to the board.
well, so the interview process, that would be the next step. So if
Yeah.
there's no questions on this, we'll accept this as it, we'll just use the
Well-
same one they've done, right?
Mhm.
So then, the process for the interviews, I believe we have to come up with the questions, and I would like to publish those questions with this packet of what what we will ask of everyone. And I think the best way to do it would be have it on the board, and they'd have a certain time limit, and they can go through all of the questions, so we're not sitting there and go, question one,
Devoting as much time as they wish to eat.
Yeah,
any of the
exactly.
questions.
So,
Yeah.
Madam President, additionally, there is an affirmation part where the
Yes.
applicant certifies that they have all the qualifications, and it points out exactly what the qualifications are. So hopefully that will help with the review process as well.
Okay, thank you, yes. So does anyone have any suggestions for the questions?
I think we need to repeat number 1, why
Okay.
do you wish to serve on the board?
Okay, I'm gonna make notes.
I think that one we need to hear in person, and then I'd like to see number 2, question number 2, in orally, what experience, skills, or abilities do you possess that you believe will benefit the district?
Okay.
And why? And divide those into 2 questions for the oral part. Can we go back to the written application?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we need question number 4?
Okay, so question number 4, Okay, yeah, what will you do to become a more effective as a board member? What would you be willing to, would you be willing to attend educational opportunities for board members? Please explain. That, I thought it, I thought the
I'm
same thing.
understanding what you're saying now, and I mean, it's like I would not expect a participant or an applicant to say, yes, I'd like to go to the CSBA
Well, I would
Masters in
expect them to say
Government
no.
Training, you know, and if they, I guess a no, but a no would not be disqualifying. I mean, if they don't, so I'm just saying, I don't know what we would learn from that question.
Right, I'm with you guys.
If I may point out,
Yeah.
I think that Mr. Paulson is absolutely, or Trustee Paulson is absolutely correct, because if you take a look at question number 5, it really explains in much greater detail.
Yeah.
It incorporates 4.
And
It's a-
question number 5 is service on the board requires a significant amount of time for meetings, studying issues, and other activities. How much time do you anticipate you will have to devote to the board? Yes.
That's an important one.
That's a very important one. Okay, so are you okay if we eliminate 4 then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we'll have basically 4.
No, we have
No, okay,
7.
It goes on.
7.
Yes.
7, there's
Then we'll
3
only have
pages. Okay, back to the question, I would say about 2 more questions that we'd like to ask.
In the interview process.
In the oral.
I think one of them would be, and I don't know wording, but something like number 8, what are the areas that you would like to see improved within the district?
Okay.
Well, that's question number 8.
Well, I know.
It's more or less the same thing.
These.
I kind of wanted I wanted a little bit, I mean, I get where you're going on that, but I kind of wanted more variety in our
Right.
interview process with them. I think it's good to
Do
establish
you
who
have
they are.
another question? Because.
Well, I think I think we have so many challenges coming ahead, and I think it would be helpful to get someone's take on how they would deal with those upcoming challenges. Like the state budget, how would you deal with that? How do you deal with student discipline? What's your suggestion for, issues that we deal with on a daily basis and have to make decisions on? I would like to understand what someone's thought process and understanding of those issues are.
Do you have a question in mind?
Because the problem with those is that takes a lot of understanding and a lot of experience. I don't know on either one of those that I could, after 10 years, answer those effectively in a oral interview. I'm not sure exactly how they would be worded, but I just don't know that an applicant would be expected to understand how are you going to deal with a structural deficit? How are you going to deal with declining enrollment?
But that's what we have to deal, that's
Oh, I
our
agree.
expectations.
I agree, but
I
that's
don't
gonna
expect
take-
them to be up to speed 100%, obviously up to speed 100%, but you have to understand how the structure is and how we get our budget, how we have to manage our budget, how we have to manage employees, how
So I
we
think I'm
help
misunderstanding
students,
what
like-
question you were going to ask.
I think some of these issues that we have to deal with, it would be a good idea to get input from the interviewees of how they would handle situations. Because we have to make decisions constantly.
Sure.
So we have to understand,
So word the question. Word the question.
well, that's a great question, yeah.
Madam President, may
Yeah.
I make a suggestion? So one of the things, if I were in your position, I would want to ask is, can you tell me a little bit about your background, training, and experience that you believe would make you a valuable board member? That's broad. It covers a lot of area. I think it's a fair question, and it really allows somebody to talk about themselves. And so I think that background information is important. And then I think the other thing that I would say is, do you have any concerns about facing the issues that you will confront in a fair and unbiased manner? And so I think that is an important part of democracy. We all have biases. You cannot eliminate, any of you that have done jury duty, they ask you, can you be fair and impartial? That's the same thing for you. Can you be fair and impartial and approach your task in an unbiased way? Because that affects students, that affects staff, it affects a whole host of issues. So I would want to hear that if I were in your position, because I think that people have a variety of different opinions. Well, if I see a kid is sagging, that I may not be able to approach that issue in a fair and impartial way. Well, say it. I mean, if be honest. If that's how you feel, we're not going to hold it against you. That's true.
Okay.
You know, you have a very diverse community, and you're not asking somebody if they're having prejudices, if they have any prejudice, because that would be insulting. I think what you want to make sure is you have somebody who can approach all of the issues in a fair and impartial way. And I think that those sort of straightforward questions will be fruitful, and I think that you will get a lot of information. I would want to make sure that we work with the superintendent and the deputy superintendent to make sure that these questions pass muster in terms of being non-discriminatory. I mean, we have to be very careful. So we're taking notes on all of your thoughts and questions. Just don't feel obligated to come up with the ultimate questions this evening that you want to ask, because it requires time.
I understand it requires time, but I want to be able to give them time as well.
Sure. Sure.
As much time as possible.
Before the packet goes out, you're saying that you would like to see the questions included with the packet so people
Yes.
can.
Oh.
I personally, I agree with you on that, absolutely. And I also agree that I think the thing I want to hear in the interview are questions that will help us understand the person's personality.
Mm-hmm.
Something like, when there is a controversial decision to be made and there is tremendous public interest in it, how will you deal with that? How will you deal if people are in disagreement with you? Some things just so we can see their thinking and, you know.
Yeah.
So I think those open-ended questions where people get to talk with themselves. Plus, I think the other thing is just the getting to know you questions are going to take 5 or 6 minutes, and we are going to need to set a time limit.
Being independent as a board member, being part of the body and deliberating together is a very important part of the process. But being true to what you believe to be true is also part of being a board member. So, you know, and that can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
That can be difficult, but I think it's important, and I think all of you exemplify that.
I think it's really important to remind ourselves who we represent sitting up here and who we're responsible for. It really is a very important position, the children in our district, the education of the children in our district. And I'd like to have some kind of a question that could put that into context and ask if you understand, or can you explain who you represent?
Yes.
And I guess that goes to why do you want to be a board member? I think that might bring it out too.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, which is back to number one.
Well, we shouldn't have groups when we sit on this board.
No.
Our group are the children and the parents in this district. That's who we have to answer to.
Right.
And it's just really important that any applicant understands that.
Absolutely.
I've
yeah.
always prided ourselves as this board has never been political.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have two. I like, Doug, will you say yours again?
I was, the
'Cause
last one I said?
Well, I think we could combine it with fair and impractical, but at the same time, how would you deal with
How do you deal with conflict? How do you deal when, I don't know how to word it. I have no idea.
It's a great question. If there's a difference of opinion on the board, if there is a difference of opinions on the board, how do you believe you would approach that particular problem?
The situation, that
you're-
situation.
Yeah,
Okay.
how would you approach that decision?
Okay, so I don't want to put everyone on the spot. So what if we did this? We have the application go out on the 13th, board meeting of the 13th, August 13th. We come prepared with questions and we put the 4 or 5 together. So I don't put you on the spot. And I still have from the 13th to the 3rd to work
And-
on those questions.
And then, I mean, we could even send the packet out without the question.
That's what I'm saying.
And then,
No, I'm saying the packet goes out right away.
right away, and then, once we're inviting people to the interviews, we just include the questions at that time, yeah.
Well, but I think we discuss it,
think
on- I
this
think
is
we
what you just
discuss,
said.
yeah, on the 13th, the next time we meet is the 13th, so we'll discuss it, we'll be better, I didn't wanna put everyone on the
Yeah.
spot, we'll think about it, because it's important, and it's our only chance to really
It's
understand the
relevant,
and the
yes.
community to understand the candidates as well.
And we'll just make sure it's a separate agenda item.
Yes, absolutely.
So can I ask a question? How long are we thinking for each interview? Or are we gonna make that decision based on the number of applicants? Or are we just going to say 10 minutes each?
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
Let's see the number of applicants.
yeah, let's decide on, once we see the number of
We could do
applicants.
15 minutes if we only have 4.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
absolutely.
Or 20. That all depends.
Yeah, okay. All right, so then, so any other anything else we need to do for the application, the next steps?
No,
We have the deadline and we have our interview meeting date and we have what the application will be. And then on the 13th, we'll discuss the additional 4 or 5 questions.
Yeah, we wanna make sure that we post in all available media sources. We wanna post on the website.
Yes, we'll
about this
put a push out.
opportunity. And then we wanna make sure that the application is immediately available as well. We don't
Okay.
wanna wait for
No.
somebody to ask.
Yeah, no, I want everywhere as a PDF download. So it's the questions we had, except for number 4. So we'll have 7 total questions.
Yep.
And we didn't change the wording on any of them. Okay, and then, so moving on to C2, the formation of a vacancy ad hoc committee. So I would say Doug would be that committee unto himself, reviewing just for completeness and qualifications of the applicants.
Qualifications.
Yeah, qualifications and
Becau-
completeness.
Completeness, like the answers to the questions?
Right.
Yeah, that they've answered every question.
It's like when you put in a bid, if you don't complete a section of the bid.
Well,
It's disqualified.
what I would suggest is that if an applicant fails to answer a particular question, they fail to answer a particular question. But completeness means that they are registered to vote, that they live in the trustee area, and so they meet the minimum qualifications.
Okay.
The registered voter. So,
And the reason that I feel that would be important is I don't think anybody wants to be making judgment calls on whether a person has been adequately responsive to the question, whether they chose to leave, one of them blank because, ooh, I already answered this before. I think then you're talking.
Yeah, but if they don't answer, have you ever been convicted of a
No,
felony or
that's
misdemeanor?
one of the qualifying questions.
Okay.
I'm talking about number 1 through 8. If-
Okay,
yeah.
7. I was like, that's kind of a big one. Okay, okay, so do we need to vote on that, or we can just appoint him to the
well, I
committee?
think a vote would be a good way to do it.
Okay, so I will motion that Doug Paulson is the entirety of the ad hoc committee, which, to reviewing the provisional appointment applications, just to see if they are qualified. And it's just on those 6 items.
Second.
Thank you, Frank. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Congratulations, Doug. All right, we have no more closing items. I am going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.